So Fatman.
So Sleazy.
Wait, there's people here I've never seen before.
Well, I was gonna say I feel like there's something important our nation's doing tonight, but I can't remember what it was.
No,
I know what it is. It's coming to this show with a special guest that we have. That's what they're doing tonight.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about that on the wrestling show. Welcome, everyone. This is Sleazy.
This is the Fatman.
Welcome, everyone, to another wonderful episode. First of all, Mr. Only gold medalist in the history of the wrestling show, Mr. Heavy G is here with us.
Good evening, folks. How are we doing?
Oh, wonderful. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, coming from the mean streets of Binghamton, New York. She is the manager of the current reigning 607 champion, the Asgardian Beast, Cade Lothbrock, the Seraph of the 607, the Mama Monster, Miss Angel DuVall is with us today.
Hi, everybody.
Sorry,
Great.
as my cat's freaking out in the background.
So, of course, welcome to the wrestling show. If you don't mind, let's start with the very beginnings. Who are you? What have you been doing? Where have you been all these years of Xcite Wrestling and every place else around in the upstate New York area?
Okay, so I'm Angel DuVall. I've been around for about a year and a half now, but you guys first saw me when I started doing all of my repping stuff with the company. At that point, I had just gotten out of my little 6 to 9 month hiatus that I took with my company, but it was a kind of top secret kind of thing for a while. But now that I'm back and everything, that's why I started with Cade. Being with Cade, I've been able to now travel to Philly this past weekend for my first time. I had never been able to have the privilege to go out and go perform for the people out there. It was a blast. We are going out to Horseheads and to Vestal, New York this upcoming weekend. I've been personally to Hornell a couple of times. We've gone to a bunch of places, including Auburn, Syracuse, just all over. I've been working with the company even while I was expecting my son. I was still helping do ring crew, just making sure everything was all good.
Wonderful. Let's kind of go a little bit into the history of Miss Angel here. What brought you into professional wrestling?
So when I was growing up back home in Tennessee, where I'm from, because I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, where Kane was the mayor for the longest time. And so that was, the first instance where I was able to be like, professional wrestling, this is kind of interesting, because at that point I was like 8, 9 years old. I was watching all the little boys at recess play with the, jumping WWE ring and trade back and forth with wrestlers. And so I started kind of getting interested in it, and my dad told me that we should go to an indie show because I didn't realize it, but my godfather was a professional wrestler, and they just didn't show me because they didn't think I would be interested in it because I was a girl. Yeah. And so I went to my first show and realized that my godfather was a hardcore wrestler, and I started watching him at all of his independent shows until I turned 18. He refused to train me, though. He kept saying that I was going to get hurt, and he didn't want his little baby to get hurt. But now I started training when I was 21. That way I could actually get to be Angel DuVall, you know?
So how did you get from Tennessee to Binghamton? Because
So,
I know Binghamton. Binghamton's kind of not Tennessee.
It
yeah, it's a
a
jump
shithole.
out of Tennessee.
I'll say it. Binghamton's a shithole.
You could say You could say it. You could say it. At least I'm not the one saying it. So the reason that I came from Knoxville to here is because I actually met my husband in Tennessee because he had come down from the Binghamton area on vacation, and I had met him in my hometown, and we ended up getting engaged very quickly, and he asked me if I wanted to move up here, and so we moved up here and found Xcite, and that's how I got started up here.
Wow. It's strange how life brings you all to different places like that.
Oh yeah.
So we were kind of talking a little bit outside the show here, but so who's currently training? Who's your coach? What got you into the Xcite school itself?
So currently my trainer is HC Loke, most amazing teacher I've ever had. He will break everything down into the smallest molecule for me to understand anything. Fantastic man. I actually named my child after him. I found Xcite because actually one of my family members was training at the time when it was still X1 out in Binghamton instead of X2 at that point, because since we all know X1 is since closed. When they were still open, we went and we trained a couple of times, and then about 3 months into them being open, they told us that they were closing that location and we were moving to Horseheads. And so my husband and I decided then to move out there and start training out there with Loke. And honestly, it was a fantastic decision for the two of us.
Does your husband wrestle too, or?
He does, yeah. He's Big Smoke with our company as well.
Okay.
Excellent. So now we kind of talked about this a little bit. What was your first foray into Xcite? What was your goal getting into Xcite from a school perspective?
So my goal when I started with Xcite, and it's changed since I first started. When I first started, I wanted to be a high flyer type. I wanted to just wow everybody with just all these crazy moves and everything, be super energetic all the time. But since going into it and since training for so long and since watching and learning the psychology of everything, I've just gotten so put in my ways of just the theological way of how everybody's actually supposed to build everything, how we are supposed to build our personas and everything. Because when you start out, you have a lot of excitement. You see people like John Cena, you see people like The Undertaker, and you're like, wow, I want to be that. But once you start wrestling, you realize there's a lot more that goes into it than just how flashy your moves look and how quick you can go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Who originally inspired you to become a professional wrestler? Obviously, your godfather was probably a huge influence in there, but in terms of the outward public media, WWE, Ring of Honor, I'm thinking 2000s era. TNA, who really inspired you to get in there, and who do you inspire to be about? Okay,
150% Bailey. I looked into a lot of her family history, and I looked into when I first got into wrestling when I was in high school and everything. Like, genuinely started reaching out into wanting to become a wrestler and what I wanted to do in the future with it. I looked into what she went through in the past and how much she had to build herself and how she had to start from the very bottom and just scrap her way to the top and to the point that where she is to this day. And I very much try to work off of things that she's done in her past and things that she did to build herself.
I think one of the nice things about professional wrestling, and I harp on this all the time on the show, and Fatman and Heavy G can both back me up. I'm a huge proponent of women's wrestling. I feel like that it doesn't get it hasn't until very recently gotten the rep it should deserve. And women like
Very
Bayley
true.
and Sasha Banks and the original Four Horsewomen really brought a whole generation of women's wrestling to the forefront that wasn't really seen up to that point. So,
Yeah, I can attest to that. We started the show 12 years ago, and ever since then, I've been calling him the women's wrestling enthusiast. So I mean, he watches
we need 'em,
Stardom,
because
and
we need people to care. It's a dying art. We're trying to bring it back to what it needs to be.
I'm always saying that matches, even though they're getting 15 minutes, I think they deserve longer matches. I've said, and Fatman, I've actually argued with me that there should be like another women's whole thing just so they can get
another women's evolution pay-per-view.
Right.
And I'm not arguing that it's not a bad idea. We're arguing that it doesn't need to be done because one, they only did it because Saudi.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. I just feel honestly like it would, in my personal opinion, usher more women and more little girls into thinking, wow, I can actually go out and go do that, as opposed to thinking, oh, they only get one or two small matches during this pay-per-view, or, oh, they had a spot. You know what I mean? Because there's just too many women that they think that their spots are too small when they deserve a much higher respect.
Do you think
Like, think of
oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, think about people like Valkyria who genuinely deserve, in my perspective, more respect. People like Becky Lynch who deserve more respect, deserve more time, you know, that just don't get the airtime, don't get the exposure that they deserve.
Yeah, I was going to kind of look at go a little bit deeper in that. Do you believe that versus the time you started watching professional wrestling to now, do you believe that's gotten better? Do you think there's way more to go?
I definitely think that there's way more to go. It's gotten so much better since I've started watching wrestling. Oh my gosh. When I started watching wrestling, they were still getting out of the era where they were just crawling out of where they were in the bra and panties matches and still trying to do all that kind of fun stuff, the pillow fights, even though that's so not wrestling nowadays. Now we've got what we've had just this past weekend when we're going for the crown jewel, and you saw how amazing these women were as compared to just seeing who can get down to their bra in the middle of the match.
It's unfortunate. There's a lot of currently, even Cody Rhodes is kind of weighed in on this a little bit, but there's a lot of people that believe that professional wrestling is a vanity business, you know, and they're there because we look good. Now, obviously speaking, there is always going to be that component to it, but there's also an athletic component of it. There's also a theater component to it. There's so much more around professional wrestling than just, hey, they look good. You know what I mean? Do you believe with how you've been trained and how you've gone through, you've already said that you're going through a lot of different areas, different places now. I assume your stint in Philly was APP, or where did you?
So 3WA was this. So
Okay.
APP, yeah, this
Okay.
past weekend.
Forgive me, is that Cheeseburger's place or? or Cheeseburger's up the road. Famous CB.
I was gonna say that was up the road.
Okay. I can never remember in that area because there's a bunch of them. Yeah, H2O, Tremont's place is actually quite close to where I am. They're like 30 minutes, 40 minutes up the road. So that's where I live. I lived around Atlantic City, so GCW. What's the other one?
The other one. Yeah, the other one.
No, it's Kurt's Mind's place. Long story. But the reality is that as you're going through locker rooms and meeting different wrestlers, are you feeling I'm tiptoeing around this, but do you feel as a women's wrestler more safe in those locker rooms? Do you feel more like you're a peer in those locker rooms? Or do you
I genuinely do.
Okay. That was not the case even 10 years ago. And
no, I wouldn't imagine it would be.
I'm very happy to
nowadays and I feel like I'm one of the guys. I never feel any type of weird way with any of those guys in the locker room. They're all like brothers and family. I can walk in and be like, hey, give me your towel. I need to change. And like 5 of them will offer up a towel. Like they're all fantastic. I'll even look at them and say, hey, I'm trying to get my body back into shape. Just had a baby. And they'll be like, here's a list of workouts. Go do it. Like, they're incredibly supportive. I've never really gone into a locker room where I've actually felt uncomfortable by anybody. It's the only time people get weird is more of fans. So
that'll never change.
Yeah, I was just
that'll never change on our show. We've had some interesting fans on our show over the years.
Oh my god!
But yeah, I'm glad to hear that, number one, because like I said, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there were still locker rooms out there. I wouldn't be so happy to be in there, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I feel very fortunate to be wrestling in the time and age where I am. I feel like about even 5 years ago that I wouldn't feel this comfortable. I've heard stories from other women in the companies that I've been to where they told me where it just has not been this easy in the past, and how much easier and how much nicer it is now, where they can even share locker rooms and change in the same areas as guys because it's not near as weird, it's not creepy. And a lot of the times they even offer to make it less awkward for us. That way we feel like we're more involved and less as just an object for people to look at.
I'm glad to hear it.
Good.
As we have a couple highs here. My goddaughter is actually watching this right now. She just stumbled on the wrestling a couple months ago. Recently started watching it, and I said that you were going to be on here, and they're watching right now. And they're just so happy that you're sharing your story. Well, if you were to say at she's 10 years old at that age, and she's really getting interested in it, like you said when your dad took you to your first indie show, what was the path that you went to get to where you're at now?
So when I first started going to indie shows, at that point, I started bugging my dad to take me every weekend, because there wasn't a show by the same company every weekend, but there was always a show around, because living in Knoxville in Tennessee, independent wrestling is a very, very big scene. And so we were able to go to Knoxville, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, even to Nashville, just all around, just going to random events. And whether they were just hardcore events, or if they were a brawl, if they were a regular wrestling match, or if they were a charity event, we always would just try to go to what we could. That way I could learn, even when I was little, what they were doing, to see why they were moving the way that they were moving, and to see where exactly they were trying to go with their story. Because that was the biggest thing for me, is I wanted to know what these guys were telling. And so my advice for her, since she's 10 years old, and that's 2 years older than me when I started, just keep watching, keep keep making your decision on who you actually like, and don't back down when someone says they don't like that wrestler. Keep saying you like it, keep studying it, and don't back down as to why you like them, because you have a reason. Not everybody else has to like them.
That's great advice. So let's kind of go around a little bit here in terms of favorites, dislikes, stuff like that. So what has been your favorite match that you've watched so far at this point? I know it's a loaded question.
This is a loaded question because I can just go for days.
Now, are you?
I have to go.
I was just gonna say, are you talking about in Xcite or generally, Sleazy?
Just generally.
Okay.
Just generally.
It's gonna sound really dumb. This wasn't like a WWE event or anything like that. It was another indie event I went to when I was a kid. My little sister was born with 8 different heart defects when I was a child, and so from the time she was born until even currently, she's been having open heart surgery. And a bunch of the guys in our area that were wrestlers found out about it, and so they threw a giant event for her to raise the money so we could get to Philadelphia for her surgery from Knoxville. And so that genuinely was my favorite because I saw people come out of the woodwork for that. There were hardcore guys. There were people that had been retired for 10 plus years. There were women that were just out there being managers because they hadn't wrestled in so long. There was just everyone, and it was beautiful to watch because we also saw the community come together at that point because we had the event in Gatlinburg, Tennessee right after we had our forest fire in 2017. Wow. And so we saw everyone come together to come to this because it was one of the first big events they had in the community since the fire had happened. And so it was just beautiful to watch. It was great to see the kids there, the parents, the families that were coming back together that hadn't seen each other because they had been displaced from their homes. It was just amazing because that was one of the biggest times I was like, okay, I really want to do this.
For you, what has been your favorite moment in professional wrestling that you've been a part of, like physically a part of, in terms of managing, in terms of reffing, in terms of anything like that?
My all-time favorite that I've ever had was getting the privilege to work with Rhino a couple of months back because he was an absolute gentleman, absolute sweetheart, lovely individual. He made sure every single move was okay with me before I made sure I wasn't going to get hurt, as it was my second month back since I had my son. He was very, very, very careful to make sure I was happy and I knew what was happening the whole time. Fantastic individual.
He definitely is. And to be fair, he was, you probably figured this out when you worked with him. He's a little bit of a germaphobe.
Just a little bit.
He was fist bumping many years before COVID was, but really cool guy. Really cool guy. I was working Ring many years ago where he was on the show. It was one of the 2CW shows when I was first starting to get craned. And really cool dude. Gave me a lot of cool advice about getting into the business and whatnot. So absolutely great that you got to feed off of him and be able to gather some advice from him. In terms of speaking of advice, what was the single bit of advice that you've gotten from somebody in the professional wrestling industry that you are taking to heart now?
The single biggest bit of advice that I've gotten since coming into the industry is keep it simple, stupid. And the only reason I'm saying that is because of the fact that when I first started out, I was intricate. I was insanely stupid. I would forget everything because I just overcomplicated absolutely everything, even all the way down to when I would try to cut a promo. It would take me 2 hours to just try to figure out my words. Hearing that, ever since then, Angel has been perfect. It's been able to just flow in all of the movements, all of my training, all of everything that comes out when I'm trying to talk has been so simple. It's been so easy, and it's almost been natural since even taking that in and considering it.
Wonderful. I'm going to pass it to Fatman here.
I was gonna say, don't get trained by Terry Cadillac. That would have been.
That's also very good advice.
True.
Yeah. There's a reason.
Yeah. He had neck surgery.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. So I always got to bring
good
this up.
on that.
Yeah, it's something I don't recommend breaking your neck. So it's something
Highly not recommend.
Just a little bit.
I think I'm good. I don't want to break it.
Yeah, it not being able to feel your arm for 12 years is absolutely fantastic until you can finally get the surgery. Okay. So I have to bring this up because every time Sleazy brings up a site, they did a joint TNA show that Sleazy was a part of but wasn't a part of, and I was. I have to every time.
Worked for Moose for years. I wasn't on the show, but Fatman, who's never worked a day in his life at Xcite, was on the show.
Yes,
that's how that works.
Of course.
Yep.
That's how that goes.
Yep, that's Moose for you.
Speaking of which, do you want to kind of talk about your experiences with Moose and getting into Xcite in that respect?
So Moose was genuinely how I got into Xcite. Actually, I had been to. We decided to go watch the Bobby Fish show over at X2 in Horseheads. While we were there, they said that there was an after party, so we went. And I walked up to Marie Valdemina and I said, "Hi, I saw you out there. I would really like to become a wrestler. What do I do?" And she turned me around and sat me down in front of Moose. And I looked at him and I just said, "Hi."
You want to be a wrestler? You want to be a wrestler? Yeah.
It was, "Hi, I'm Moose. You want to wrestle?" Basically. And I told him, I was like, "I would love to wrestle." And he goes, "Cool. We're always looking for girls."
Sounds like
respect. That was great.
Moose and Moose and I go way back, obviously. He's the reason why I have any career at all, to be frank with you. He's booked me in places that probably I'm not saying I deserve spots, but I don't ever deserve a spot. I will always give my spot away to somebody who I feel is more deserving than me. But he's always been able to shoehorn me on a show, been able to put me in a promo spot, stuff like that, because,
except their biggest show.
But that's beside the point. The reality is this: is Moose knows the professional wrestling business very much, and he knows Binghamton more than anybody else in terms of professional wrestling.
Very
true. But I think where do you believe you want to go next? Like, everyone's got a goal. Everyone wants to go somewhere. Everyone usually says WWE. Are you on that road to WWE?
So that's eventually my goal. It's everyone's goal, I feel like, in the independent scene. I feel like all of us have the goal to either make it to WWE or AEW or just something along the lines. Honestly, my personal goal, and once I have reached it, I will have to find myself a new one. I want to make it on Ring of Honor so terribly, and it's a small goal to have, but I feel like once I reach that one, I can make my next. The first goal I had when I first started was being able to even do a flip when I got started doing wrestling, and here I am doing stuff off of ropes. So I know that I can keep pushing myself to make those attainable goals.
Awesome. I'll toss it back to Fat Man in terms of questions.
Well, you said your goal is to Ring of Honor. You said that was a small goal. That would be amazing if you did, because that way you'll not only get on Ring of Honor TV, but most likely you at least have a couple of shows on AEW TV. And as much as I'm not a fan of AEW, well, at least not a fan of Tony Khan. There's a ton of great workers there. That's big. That's huge. And I'd be so happy to see you there. So you said that your favorite show was the one that you they did for your sister, which is absolutely fantastic. So what is your mindset when you go up before you go out there? Is it, you said you keep it simple, but like, what's your attitude like when you just relax, chill, go out there, do your thing, come back, or you like get into a zone and you're like, okay, don't talk to me, don't touch me, let's go, like type
I
of thing.
want people that I have to get in the zone because Angel is very much a part of who I am as a person, because all wrestling has a little bit of truth.
Yep.
Everybody has a little bit of truth to themselves when they're out there, and mine is that I'm the preacher's daughter. When I'm out there, I'm supposed to have the whole kicked out of the family aspect, right? I'm supposed to have like the sailor's mouth, not supposed to talk nice. And it's actually how it works for me, because I am a preacher's daughter, and that's just how I am in real life. And so I kind of have to get into my more bitchier aspects and more like my attitude, and kind of get grumpy before I go out, because there's just so much that I need to make sure that gets projected. You can't be too calm, but if you like you were saying, if you overthink it, it just won't work well. You have to keep it simple still. It's still you. You just kind of got to get in your zone and be you.
Right.
Heavy G.
I have a couple questions. That you are the manager of Kay Lothbrock. What makes Cade so good?
So what makes Cade amazing, actually, is because of the fact that he's been in this for such a long time, and his growth from where he was as Stockade as he is to now. Back then, we're just doing so much deathmatch, and we're doing a little wrestling, but now we've gotten into the point where we are heavy lifting. We are building more of a psychological story. We have more actual in-depth wrestling when it comes to his matches now, and it feels like he's more even involved when it comes to crowd engagement and everything, as opposed to when we started working together. And I feel like that's come from just the way that we have our ring chemistry since we've started together.
And I noticed that they mentioned earlier that he is the current 607 Anarchy champion. But I noticed...
Yes, he is. Angel champion. He's Angel champion.
Angel's champion, correct. I am corrected. I don't need to get beat up here. But I saw that win was sandwiched in between a couple tag matches that he had in Tough and Talented and in KPW. Would there be a chance that if you have your eyes, maybe even with your husband, to maybe go after the tag belts and go after even Stevens, make him him be an Angel dual champion?
I don't know. That would be something that I would have to bring up with the Beast himself, because honestly, he would be able to collect tag champions, because then he would totally be our Grand Slam at that point. He would have every single belt under his belt at that point.
Good stuff.
And what makes a good manager? I mean, I've always wanted to be in the business. I have never been in the business, never been in the industry. I met Fat Man through a friend of ours, and I met Sleazy through Fat Man, and we've always had this talk about it, and I've just been so envious of that not being in the business. But what makes a good manager?
So In my opinion, what makes a good manager is being able to support your client when they're out there. You don't get in the way. You remember that client, they are number one. You are not the spotlight. You are highlighting exactly what your client is doing. You are not adding to it. You're only highlighting the banter that you can have with the crowd and the way that you carry yourself. Those are the top things that you need to focus on as a manager. Because if you're not able to do that, then you're going to look like a fool. And then you will make your client look like a fool as well.
I think over the years, there have been so many great managers. Bobby Heenan, Paul Bearer, the Grand Wizard, just random. I'm just pulling names randomly. Jim
Freddie
Cornette,
Blassie.
The one you always drool
We're
over.
forgetting,
I don't know any
we're
of them.
forgetting.
There's so many. Who do you pull the most from when it comes to your manager persona?
Honestly, if you can pull a little bit of Bobby the Brain and add a little bit of Sonny, I know it sounds like a weird combination, but I try to have the arrogance of the Brain and still have the persona, the attitude, and the charisma of Sonny. That
Is
way,
the
you
weirdest
kind of get that.
I was just going to say
Yeah,
that is.
yeah. So it's honestly kind of like an in-your-face, I'm better than you. You know?
And Sonny had that too, especially in the when she was managing Candido as Skip. You know, so I think that there's a lot of great talent out there that did a lot of great management work and a lot of different valet work. Sonny wasn't your traditional, oh, she's attractive, that was her only thing. She had a lot of substance behind that. Miss Elizabeth, another one that had a lot of substance behind what she was doing. Sensational Sherry, another one, great substance behind the beauty. Do you believe that you're going to see
Same.
right? Do you believe that going forward you're going to see, like, managers as a whole are dying? They're dying out. They really are. You take a look at WWE currently. Outside of Paul, who's not even in the Bloodline feud anymore, there really isn't all that many valets outside of Scarlett. Do you believe
Very true.
if you were to manage somebody in WWE currently today, who would that be?
That's also such a loaded question. Oh my gosh. Nowadays, not any time in the past. Now.
Current roster today.
I think I have an idea.
What's your idea? I would love to hear it because I'm just pondering through the whole list currently.
Knowing what we've talked about you, I mean, you'd have to fight her for it. I could see Karrion Kross.
Okay.
I could see trying to think. I could even see possibly Braun Breaker.
Okay. I could very much see Braun. I can definitely see that. Honestly, it makes me very sad if Mr. Bray Wyatt were not dead. If he had not passed, if he were still currently with us. I would have loved to have worked with that gentleman because I take so much inspiration from everything that his entire faction has done.
It's amazing how somebody's death can be such a shock and such a huge ripple effect in professional wrestling. His was one of the biggest. Him, Brody,
Yeah.
they were two amazing minds of the business.
Brody, yeah.
Very.
So let's kind of quickly wrap this up. So once again, can you put yourself over really quickly, and then we'll go into news and rumors.
Word. Okay. Again, hi. I'm Angel DuVall. I am the manager of the 607 Grand Slam champion, Cade Lothbrock. And to put that on top, I am the best manager that he has ever had. Way better than the trash that I'll be seeing this weekend.
Ooh. Yikes! This ought to be fun. So we're going to get into news and rumors. You're welcome to stay with us and talk through today's news and rumors brought to you by Fatman.
Well, it's me.
That would be you.
That's
That
me.
would be you. This is your segment.
It's mine. All mine.
You. It's you.
So we kind of talked about it. I got to learn how to read here. Carla Anderson underwent surgery on it looks like a shoulder. It doesn't say anything about that. I'm pretty sure it's a rotator cuff. Sucks. I made a joke before we went on there saying I thought you had to wrestle to get injured, but okay. Same with Angel Garza, who broke his wrist or had surgery on his wrist.
It's the bad news day on the rest.
Evidently.
Goodness gracious.
I guess Zack Sabre Jr. is going to defend the IWGP title against Ricochet at Wrestle Dynasty on January 5th.
What are your thoughts, Angel, on you said you were into a lot of high-flying wrestlers. Zack, not so much, but definitely Ricochet. What are your thoughts on Ricochet and his in-ring style?
I am a huge fan of Ricochet, to be very fucking honest. I have studied his work like crazy. I've even started copying his workouts to try to be able to get my jumps as high as he can. It's one of my goals to be able to pull off just as much as he can at some point in my career. Fantastic worker.
Yeah, Ricochet's awesome. I mean, you can't deny his talent. There was recent reports of we talked about Becky Lynch a little earlier about some contract demands. Of course, according to
we gotta say
Dave Meltzer.
Okay, actually, not spiteful.
Fuck off.
Those they were like supposedly she's asking for a lot of money, but those is obviously false. Her and WWE remain on good terms, and the company's currently respecting her decision to take some time off to spend with her family. So she's earned it. So good for her.
Yes.
Right? Like what kind of who what bullshit? Because she's probably one of the highest paid women's wrestlers currently on the roster. Like outside of maybe Asuka, who just got re-signed. And the only reason why Asuka got more money maybe than Becky is because her renewal came up sooner. You know what I mean? I assume that when Becky gets renewed, she'll eclipse Asuka. So, but it's just like, really? What the hell? That's bullshit.
I got a quick question for Angel. Talking about Ricochet. What's more important? Spots, psychology, or a mix?
Honestly, a mix, because if you only have spots, people are just going to lose interest if you're not pulling enough. If you only have psychology, people aren't going to want to watch you. They'll listen, but they won't want to watch you. If you have a good mix of the both, then you have their attention and you also have their interest. If you don't have both, then you don't have a fan anymore.
100% correct. And it's not just about psychology and spots as to where to put those spots to make the psychology work in a match. So you can't.
Very true with
you have to have both.
That's a definite Loke Colin mindset right there.
Mm-hmm.
Mark was also big about you put the spot in the right spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't pull it too early. You don't pull it too late. If you pull too big of a move too early, then people aren't going to watch the rest of the match. They're bored.
Yep.
You've already watched too much.
Well, I mean, at least you guys take bumps according to the show we set Heavy G to. Well, that's okay.
Oh God! And the worst part about that was Loke worked that show, but we didn't stay long enough to see him.
No. BCW Battleground.
Yeah.
WrestleMania weekend. We say for the first 3 matches, nobody took a goddamn bump. Like
you must have been there, weren't you?
It was all punches and kicks.
At least you had a first good indie show to go to, Angel. They took me to that.
Sleazy took you to that.
Oh, that was horrible.
Hey! I was trying to be nice, okay?
We did the math. The average age of the wrestlers there was 50 years old.
My age.
Yeah.
51 was the average age.
Loke was younger than more than half the locker room.
Well, Angel, we'll put it to you this way. The opening match was the Dudleys versus Tommy Dreamer and a mystery partner. The mystery partner ended up being Onita. Onita got the color and
took the most bumps.
And Bubba Ray did the Devon dive because Devon couldn't get on the second rope.
Yeah, because he just had
Bro.
back surgery.
He just had back surgery. So why work the match? Anyway, moving on.
Just doing everything at that point.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
When you got Shane Douglas cutting a promo saying, I know you guys are cheering for me, but please boo me one night.
And then he cut a 10-minute promo, had a match where it was all punch and kicks, and then cut another 10-minute promo.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Anyway, do you remember what match we were left in?
Oh,
it was Crowbar and
somebody.
Oh, Crowbar and what is it? That
it doesn't matter.
TW Anderson was with
Tegan Knox, Indy Hartwell, and Barrett Corbin got released by WWE. What are your thoughts on that, Angel?
I feel like especially when it comes to Baron, in my personal opinion, because he was also someone that I very much watched as a child and kind of idolized. It makes me kind of frustrated because I feel like that's a waste of very good talent that still has good potential that they're just letting walk away. I get the spring cleaning. I get that we got to make sure that everything's tidy and that all contracts are renewed the correct way and that everybody has their shot. But I don't feel like everybody's time is over quite yet when it came to that.
Sorry, those sirens are on my end. I don't know what the hell's going on outside my window. It is election night. The world's falling apart.
They're finally coming to get you.
If you see people with white coats come in, that's fine. I need a break anyway.
So let me talk about Corbin because Corbin's an interesting case because Corbin has actually become a humongous TikToker of all places because of his cooking. So hilariously, there are people that know Baron Corbin not because of wrestling at all and didn't even know he wrestled, but only for his cooking content on TikTok, which is fucking hilarious. The man is a joy.
Which honestly is kind of funny. It's a good way to be able to get the new generation to watch him because it's a good strategy if you think about it, getting these kids that don't necessarily watch wrestling but are doom scrolling through TikTok watching random things. They land on that video and they go, who's this? And then they research it and they see his videos and get interested. He's planting that seed in all these kids.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that we, as professional wrestlers as a whole, we're always looking to market ourselves in a new way, a different way. Jack Vaughn is a great example of this, of how he got huge on TikTok because of the whole indie wrestler does this, that, and the other thing, and the whole thigh slap gimmick. Yeah, so the fact that you know that says everything you need to know about how well that's working for him. But there are so many different social media outlets now. Blue Sky is something that we literally just got on like 3 weeks ago, maybe. But TikTok's a huge one. Even Instagram Reels and all the different social media outlets. There's so many different ways to market yourself out there, and I'll be interested to see, even in the next couple of years, to see where people, even in WWE, will market themselves in a unique way, and see where that goes from there.
Yeah.
Liv Morgan signed a new 5-year deal, I guess, for WWE.
Good for her.
Fantastic. Fantastic heel work.
Yes.
She deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
She's one of the ones where if this current opportunity didn't go as well as planned, I think it would be her name on that list along with Indy and Tegan, honestly.
Could be.
Because
I can see that. I feel like that's really, really big reach, and it landed very well. But if it hadn't, it would have been a very big flop for the company as a whole, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's basically it. There's hasn't been a lot coming out, which is kind of normal around this time of year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Upcoming shows. Obviously, we're talking with Angel tonight. Thursday, we're going to do our full review of Crown Jewel on a special TWS After Dark. That'll be fun. Angel, what are your next shows coming up?
So this Friday we are in Horseheads at the Arnott Mall, and we are going to be having our match with Big Pat Sawyer, and that is doors are at 5, shows at 6, and then we also have our show in Vestal, New York at Skate Estate, and that one the doors are at 6, shows at 7, and that one you'll get to see me hang out with my new little bestie, Miss Foxy. So we get to actually hang out for the first time, get to kiki a little bit since she thinks that my man's so obsessed with her. But it's fine. We get to work it out a little bit.
It'll be interesting to see. You can get those tickets at Xcite.com. Obviously, we're always happy to put over Xcite Wrestling, obviously because of the connection, but just in general because it's great. It's a great show.
It's a great group of guys. Come on. Know your own
guys,
bits.
Hang on. Great group of guys and gals.
There you go.
We have more girls coming now. We have many girls training now. So we'll have more gals soon.
Awesome.
I'm very happy to hear that. There's been a lot of me saying as such for many years so I'm glad that he's finally coming around on that.
Me too.
Once again, thank you, Angel, for coming on the show. You're always welcome to come back, join us, talk about what you're doing in the future. And of course, anytime you go out and about, make sure you scream from the rafters, Mr. Cade Lothbrock can, technically, he hurt me once, so screw him. Screw him. I don't like him. No, he's great.
He's beat off of me. It's okay. I appreciate it.
He's hit me on more than one occasion, I believe. But no, in all seriousness, thank you so much for coming on the show. Heavy G, put yourself over.
You can catch me.
Very, very much.
Oops, sorry.
Good, Angel.
I appreciate you guys. Y'all have been great.
Thank you.
No,
You
thanks.
can catch me and the Hall of Famer Fatman on the Best Darn Sports Show Period 2 coming up right after this in 5 minutes. We're going to talk about the World Series, how the Dodgers dominated my Yankees. We're going to talk about how Dallas sucks. We're going to talk about a whole lot and a whole of that and a whole lot more. College football playoff ranking just came out. You're going to love it. Best Darn Sports Show Period 2 coming up in about 5 minutes time.
I'm at TWS Sleazy.
Hi.
Fuck you. We are Sleazy Fatman on X, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky. Please go on over there and give us a wonderful little like. We are We can find all those videos on twitch.tv/Sleazy and The Fatman, youtube.com/Sleazy and The Fatman, premium content, onlyfans.com/The Wrestling Show. This week, you'll be able to see my titty live. Like and subscribe on your favorite platform and click the notification icon on YouTube. So when we go live on TWS After Dark, like I said, on Thursday, you'll be notified. Explore more content at thewrestlingshow.com, including articles, merch, and so much more. So with a special thank you to Angel, a thank you to Heavy G, and as always, for Sleazy.
For the Fat Man.
This is The Wrestling Show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Peace.
Fuck Tony Khan, his alleged coke habit. Fuck Dave Meltzer. You said that a lot this show. Hot dog's not a sandwich. The sub is not a sandwich. A burger is a sandwich. Taco burritos are not sandwiches, you Indiana redneck pieces of shit. Thursday, After Dark, Crown Jewel. Next Tuesday, whatever we want.
I'm a truth that you seem to run from. I'm an army of one. I'm a clip in your gun. I'm the pain of the game. The blood shedding your name. When there's nothing to gain.